Chapter 1. Introduction. No, sir, when a man is tired of London, he is tired of life, for there is in London all that life can afford. Samuel Johnson, 1777. This is the best known quote about London, and it is also true to this day. Whether you enjoy history, art, music, architecture, nature, people watching, food, nightlife, or old-fashioned sightseeing, London has it all. The only problem is, unless you plan on a lengthy stay, how do you see it all? Add to that a limited budget, and you may feel discouraged before you begin. Not to worry, there is something for everyone. Some of the sites I mention take more than one day to appreciate fully, so you may have to pick and choose. Read about each one and decide which appeal to you the most. After all, this is your vacation, so make the most of it. My advice is not to attempt too many things per day. 2 stops at the most during the day, not counting meals, and 1 or 2 stops at night, if you're a night owl. That alone will ensure you get a great night's sleep. 1. History. Before you begin, it doesn't hurt to know something about this capital of the UK. The earliest proof of existence for the city proper goes back to Roman times. In 43 AD, they founded a military settlement on the banks of the Thames and named it Londinium. Because of the Thames's connection to the sea and its tides, trade and commerce made the population blossom. Flash forward to the 3rd century AD, and the Romans had built a defensive wall around the then boundaries because of constant invasions by Saxon pirates. You can still see remnants of this wall today. Beginning in the 5th century, the Anglo-Saxon took the Romans' place and made their mark. From the 9th through to the 11th centuries, London has dealt with the constant invasions by the Vikings. Eventually, London remained sovereign. The Normans dominated London until the Middle Ages, starting with William the Conqueror. William constructed an amazing array of buildings, including the Tower of London. After William, court intrigue, citizen rebellions, reforms, and the creation of a London mayor, selected by the people in 1193, made life interesting, to say the least. Tudor England is best known for Henry VIII and his strong, prosperous daughter, Elizabeth I. War, a host of successes and beheadings separated Henry's and Elizabeth's reign, but in the end Elizabeth became queen. She was arguably one of the best monarchs in England's history. It was during her reign that Shakespeare made his mark, and the arts prospered. The Reformation was in full swing, and the cathedrals were stripped of statues and artwork considered to be idolatrous. During the reign of the Stuarts, religious and civil turmoil seemed never-ending. In 1665, a plague killed 80,000 citizens, or 1/6 of the population. Later, in 1666, the Great Fire of London destroyed nearly all wooden structures and 60% of the city. This is why so few medieval buildings remain. When the city was rebuilt, the structures could not be constructed of wood or other flammable materials any longer. 2. The 20th century. It is hard to believe that the start of the 20th century was 100 years ago, but it's true. Queen Victoria, who was the longest reigning monarch in Britain until Queen Elizabeth II, died in 1901. A smallpox epidemic killed 2,000 Londoners that same year. Sometime later, the Great War, World War I, changed the face of Europe forever. Monarchies were overturned in many countries, but Britain's remained. The war came to an end in 1918, and the vote was finally given to working men and women over the age of 30. The boom time of the 1920s was followed by a world economic depression in the 1930s. Then, World War II brought with it death, destruction, and ultimately victory to London. They were bombed on a regular basis by Nazi Germany, but they never surrendered. Much was made of the now deceased Queen Mother's refusal to leave Buckingham Palace for safer quarters. The people loved her for it. Winston Churchill is remembered to this day as the British Bulldog, who never gave up. Even today, remnants of bombed-out buildings have been left as they were for people to see and remember. 3. Modern London. London itself is a complex construction to the outsider. The inner city of London is made up of 14 boroughs or districts, and the outer city is made up of 19 boroughs. Together, these comprise of the Greater London area, which is acknowledged as a county, not a city. The City of London itself only covers 2.9 square kilometres, or 1.1 miles, so it is very small, while the metropolitan area that makes up most of the county covers 70 kilometres or 45 miles. What matters is that while the City of London may feel like a modern metropolis in the financial district and in the gentrified areas of the East End and more, but Greater London as a whole still feels like a collection of very old English villages that have grown together over the centuries, which, in a way, is what happened. And that being said, every part of London does its part to bring in more people to boost the local economy. Never fear about running out of things to do. No matter if you enjoy the city or the countryside, London has a place for you.